My name's Rutland, originally from KZN. The last 10 years been pretty nomadic, traveling the world on the back of my bicycle, exploring all 6 continents and having a heck of a good time doing it. So we're currently sitting here in sunny London, middle of summer, and late November last year I jumped on a bicycle at Eden Park, big rugby stadium, famous rugby stadium in Auckland, and I've spent the last 285 days or so cycling up North America, and most recently the last couple of weeks through the UK. There was a Women's Rugby World Cup took place in New Zealand last year. I'm cycling to the men's version taking place in France this year. I've been tasked with delivering the match whistle for the opening game. That's really just an excuse for me to be able to explore the world on the back of my bicycle. And more importantly, I've been looking for ways over the last 10 years to focus my adventures more and more on having a bigger purpose. And the purpose here is to raise funds for ChildFund Rugby, the most incredible organisation using the power of sport to help uplift and give young people opportunities where previously they would never have any such chances.
I actually, through my wife's cousin, met Ron, and I went to one of his presentations and watched the documentary on his last ride, which was to Japan. And got chatting afterwards, and I told Ron that I've got the cycling business that makes cycling clothing, and give me a call when he's ready for his next adventure. And about 2 months went by, and I got that phone call, and Ron asked, can we provide the kit for him for the race to Paris? And the answer was an enthusiastic yes.
So Pedal to Paris was Ron's brainchild 2.5 years ago. It was kind of almost the first step to the start of the race to Rugby World Cup, from Japan to New Zealand to Paris. And doing something cool to create awareness, to raise money is really hard. One of the best ways to do it is actually get the people physically involved. But when they actually are on the ground, putting their saddle heights correctly and putting their pedals on, and know that they're raising money for something greater than themselves, that's probably the best way. And so I've been a big supporter of Pedal to Paris since we started. It essentially sold out immediately. So it wasn't an event we needed to market. It was just every time we saw someone, would you come join us in London and cycle with us to Paris? And they all 180 people are just behind us here, testing their bikes and their kit out, and are ready to cycle to Paris and raise money for a cause that's really close to Ron and I, called ChildFund Rugby.
Well, the name CIOVITA means life in motion, and that's how Ron's been living his life for the last 10 years, as he said. So it's basically his story inspires people to ride, and that aligns very well with our brand. So we're really just excited to get behind him and ride with him. The significance of CIOVITA being part of the Pedal to Paris is that it's a global event. We're a brand based out of South Africa, and this gives us the opportunity to do something that's outside of South Africa. But rugby is a very important sport to South Africans, so I think a lot of South Africans can resonate with this great event.
Yeah, so very fortunate for the support of CIOVITA over the last couple of years, and very, very proud to be an ambassador of theirs. And I think there's no better test than the real world, and certainly Adam and I on our journey together last year and in the last sort of 9 months on my own. This gravel adventure shirt, for example, I've probably worn it 500 of the last 600 days of my life. I had a couple of changes, to be fair. But in terms of finding something comfortable to ride in, it's probably the most important thing. ChildFund also very kindly developed some boxers, some padded boxes, which wasn't in their range originally. And again, probably 400 of the last 600 days of my life I've been wearing those. So different pair from time to time. You do find a basin every now and then to wash them, but yeah, so it's been really blessed to have their support, and obviously from the highs of the Andes when you're cycling through, it drops below zero, rain and sleet and things like that, having the right gear for that. And then, as I say, good examples: Texas, Louisiana, parts of Mexico. I've never been hotter in my life, and pretty much wear the same shirts and obviously jackets accordingly. Well, ChildFund Rugby is an incredible organisation that uses the power of sport, and in this case rugby, to help teach life skills to young people that would otherwise miss out on that. It started in Laos, which is a little country, landlocked country, bordering Vietnam and Thailand and China. And Chris, who founded the program, was trying to find ways to reach young girls who were taken out of school at 11 or 12, which is very common, particularly in the north. These young girls, they get taken out of school, they expect to go work in the rice fields, work in the kitchen. They're often married off at sort of 13 or 14, and they really miss out on so much that we take for granted, on education, on basic life skills, and even just play and sport and things that, as I said, we're just privileged enough in South Africa to all take for granted. So Chris initially was trying to find ways to be able to reach these kids, these young girls in particular. Brought footballs, he brought soccer balls, volleyballs, and as soon as he brought these out, the boys would sort of just push the girls aside and say, no, that's a boys' sport. So very cleverly he introduced rugby and told them it was a women's sport and a girls' sport. So the boys had no interest and the girls took it up. And now Laos and Vietnam are the only two countries in the world that have more female participation in rugby than males. And let's be honest, they're not there to try and find the next superstar rugby player. They're just trying to give these young people through sport an opportunity to learn, the practicalities and the enjoyment of playing sport for the first time in their life, but also to teach them really important lessons that they'd otherwise be missing out on. And a lot of these young girls who've been through the program for the last 5-6 years have now sort of gone full circle and are now actually delivering the program. So as whereas they might have been, we often use the word doom, but I think that's reality. They might have been sex workers or just working in the field for the rest of their lives. Now they're actually leaders in their community, delivering these programs. And I've been around the world, very luckily. I've seen a lot of other sports development programs. We supported a cycling program on our departure from Cape Town as well. So wherever people use sport, and particularly rugby and cycling, my two big loves, to make a big difference, I'm all in on supporting and doing what I can for them.